Hi, Jeff Atone. Hey, how's it going today? Say, I don't know. This is crazy, but again, I've been kind of watching a few of these yelly, screamy videos that everybody seems to think that they're uncovering these big conspiracies and high-end audio and how you're all being cheated. And it's this the truth about high-end audio that no one's talking about or that no one's telling you about. Well, hey, I've got one for you. Here's something that I don't think I've ever seen this talked about anywhere. I don't know how long you've been involved in audio and enthused about it and how long you've been buying gear, whatever. Um, But if you have been buying gear or you have been involved as an enthusiast with high-end audio for quite some time, like say 10, 20, 30, maybe even 40 or 50 years, one of the things that I've never seen anybody talk about is when the cost of gear comes into play and people wonder, why does this stuff cost so much money? Where is the expense coming from? And they look at stuff like parts count or this or that, and somebody will randomly say, hey, I could build that $10,000 preamp for $1,000 or $1,500. um you know what? There's no conspiracy. The truth is, you might be able to build yourself a $10,000 preamplifier for $1,500 if you had access to the parts, if you had access to the metalwork, blah blah blah. But that's not what I'm getting at. Okay, um, it's about a lot more than that. A lot of these companies that have been around for 30, 40, 50 plus years, like Audio Research, like Conrad Johnson, like Macintosh, Pass Labs, you name it. I mean, a lot of these companies, whether you know it or not. I mean, again, if you're kind of new to high-end audio, you might not know that Audio Research has been around for 50 years, or that Luxman is going to celebrate their 100th anniversary this year. Where am I going with this? Well, once these companies get bigger and bigger and bigger, there's more mouths to feed. Okay. And when you see these guys at trade shows, you see them doing marketing, you see them advertising in magazines, um, all that costs money. And, I mean, a perfect example of this, and I'm just pulling this out of my hat. A really good example of this is ModRite. And I'm not singling ModRite out for any real particular reason. And I don't, Dan Wright's a great guy. He makes great gear. He's here in the Pacific Northwest. He's probably 20 minutes from where I live. But 25 years ago, when I started Tone, he was modding CD players and he started building preamps in his basement. Okay. And that original SWL 9.0, fantastic preamp. I bought one. It's still a fantastic preamp. Okay. That preamp was $1,300. And I mean, granted, some of that is inflation between now and then. Um, and of course, nowadays, some of it's tariffs with parts and where parts come from and stuff, even if it's made in America. But he's successful. His business has grown. He's got a space. He's got employees. He pays his people decent money. He goes to trade shows. He advertises in magazines. So now that preamplifier is $4,000. He's not ripping anybody off. It just costs more to make stuff when you have a company. And let's go further. Let's take someone like Macintosh. Okay. I've been to the factory in Binghamton a few times. I mean, I haven't been there since Bose has taken over, but the last time I went to Macintosh, they had a couple $1 million worth of legacy parts inventory. Last time I went to Audio Research, I don't think they had quite that much, but they had a lot. Conrad Johnson, Nagra, you name it. These big companies, Pass Labs, these guys, a lot of them, they keep a lot of backstock on parts so that they can fix the product that you own once it gets to be 10 or 20 or 30 years old. And again, that costs money. It costs money in taxes, it costs money in space. Um, it's just physical inventory that's laying around collecting dust, not making money so that your product can be fixed. So, part of what you're paying for with some of these products is not just to pay everyone's health insurance or to pay, rent on the building or whatever. Think about it almost like Social Security, okay, where the generation beforehand pays in. When you buy a Macintosh amplifier or a Luxman amplifier or a Sim Audio amplifier or whatever, part of what you're contributing to is keeping those companies alive and allowing them to maintain a service department, to maintain a parts inventory, not only for new gear, but for old gear as well. And that's where part of the money's going. So, if you're someone like me who's been an audio enthusiast for decades, you know how these products have changed. The overall quality has gotten better, build quality has gotten better, packaging quality has gotten better. And again, it's a bigger industry, it's a bigger world, so there's more steps along the way to get the cake to to your table. So if you'll entertain me, you know, keep that in mind, keep that at the back of your head. When you're asking that question, hey, why does this stuff cost so much? Now again, I know there are exceptions to this rule. There are certainly a few things out there in this world of audio that probably cost more than they should. I'm not going to start that argument today. What I'm talking about is most of the day to day, most of the gear that we're interested in. Um, it's just a lot of it is just cost of doing business. I mean, the cost of shipping has gone through the roof. I mean, 5 years ago, it would cost me $25 to ship a preamp FedEx ground from here in Washington State to somebody in California. Now that's $100 with insurance for that same size and weight package. I mean, there's so many of these things that just, the cost of doing business has gone up tremendously in the last 10 or 15 years. So, when you're out there on a forum or you're out there on a Facebook page and you're anxious to cry wolf that these companies are just taking you to the cleaners and they're taking you to the bank, um, you know there's a lot more that they're doing now that they weren't doing 20 years ago. And when you see a really great product from somebody that's brand new, keep in mind they don't have a staff to pay. They don't have the overhead that a Macintosh or a Martin Logan or a YG or a REL or any of those companies have. And all of that is part of what goes into the product. So, like it or not, that's what it is. So, hey, I hope you'll keep that in mind when you're thinking about what the truths are in high end audio. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Talk to you again soon.